إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters, and it is always an honor and pleasure to be here at the Masjid where many ulama come, and it is an honor to share the stage with such great personalities as those people. Today we're going to talk about one of those great personalities whom we try to follow. And even though the series is about female companions, the lessons and the stories that we have in them, they are important to all of us. And I apologize before I go any further for my voice because I'm a bit unwell. That is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called companions of the Prophet ﷺ many good names. One of them is Rijal. And Rijal means, as most of you may know, men. And that title applies not only to men but to women. Why? Because there are certain qualities that make a person who is born a male into a man. And there are certain qualities that make a person born a female into what can be described as an honorable person and a man. And those qualities sometimes are found more in women than they are in men. For that reason, we as brothers and as men, or rather as males, we should never think that stories that relate to female companions only apply to women and sisters. For that reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised those great people, and the women are included in that praise. And there are many ayat in the Quran. They are over 30, as Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said, that point to the fact that those great people, they deserved, through their actions and through their beliefs and through their efforts, the praise that Allah mentioned them with in His book, and the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam praised them with in His sunnah. Some of that praise is found, as you know, in the hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, خير الناس قرني ثم الذين يلونهم ثم الذين يلونهم. The best of people are my generation, then those who come after them, then those who come after them. That of course includes the women. And also we as men, as males and as men, we must understand that it is not possible for us to be good religiously, especially when we are married and even before marriage, except if we have good female companions beside us. Either a good mother or a good sister, or when we get married, a good wife, and when we have children, a good daughter. All of these are very important. So when we talk about female companions, they apply to all of the Muslims, and there are lessons to be learned from those stories for everyone. For that reason, when I was given the choice to talk about any female companion apart from two, I chose Asmaa because there were certain moments in her life that I felt were very important for both men and women to understand and to know. I will try, inshallah, within this short lecture to highlight some of those and highlight some interesting facts about her life, radiallahu anha. Of course, as her name suggests, she was the daughter of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, radiallahu anhu, but she does not share a mother with Aisha, radiallahu anha, so she is her sister through her father. They have different mothers. Also, to my knowledge, their family is the only family from the companions, radiallahu anhum, that has 4 generations of Sahaba in them. And that is a great, what we call manqaba, a great virtue and a great achievement, and something Allah chose them with, to have 4 generations, because the father of Abu Bakr, Abu Quhafa, Uthman, because the name of the father of Abu Bakr was Uthman, he was from the Sahaba, because he embraced Islam while the Prophet ﷺ was alive. And about him, the Prophet ﷺ said, change the whiteness of his beard and avoid black. And also Abu Bakr himself, as we know, radiallahu anhu, whose name may not be known to many people, his name was Abdullah. Abu Bakr was his kunya. So his full name is Abdullah bin Uthman, radiallahu anhu. He was the best of the Sahaba. Asmaa herself, as well as Aisha and the other children of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhum, obviously she was from the Sahaba. And also some of her children, especially Abdullah bin Az-Zubayr, is from the Sahaba. So there are 4 generations of Sahaba in that great family. And to my very little knowledge that I have, I don't know any other family from the Sahaba that has that great fadl and that great virtue apart from the family of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. Of course, her father was one of the 10 or the first of the 10 given the good news of Jannah in their lifetime in one hadith. Her husband, Az-Zubayr bin al-Awwam, radiallahu anhu, is also included in that number. Her son, especially Abdullah bin Az-Zubayr, he has a significance as well, because she did hijrah while being pregnant with him, and almost the end, mutim, as it says in Bukhari and Muslim. Mutim means the term was complete for her to give birth, and she did just after hijrah, as soon as she migrated, almost in Quba. And also Abdullah bin Az-Zubayr radiallahu anhu wa anhuma, he was, they call him أول مولود بعد الهجرة في الإسلام, the first born after hijrah, after the migration of the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba en masse to Medina. And the Muslims were greatly happy to learn of his birth, because there were rumors abound, they were spread, that the Muslims were done magic to by their enemies, and that the women of the Muslims would not give birth after that time. And when Abdullah bin Az-Zubayr, the son of Asmaa, with whom she was pregnant, was born, the Muslims rejoiced greatly. And any time Muslims of the quality of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum rejoice at the birth of a newborn, that is always good news for that newborn. Also, Asmaa radiallahu anha, she said she took Abdullah to the Prophet ﷺ, which was the custom of the Sahaba. They used to take the newborns as much as they can to the Prophet ﷺ, and he would do tahniq, which is to chew some date and to take that and put it in the mouth, and hanak is that top part of the side, inside of the mouth, and rub it on that part of the baby. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ did to Abdullah bin Zubair radiallahu anhuma. And Asmaa radiallahu anha said that the first thing that entered his stomach was not even milk, it was the saliva of the Prophet ﷺ. And also some interesting fact about Asmaa radiallahu anha is that she lived for a very long time, for 100 years, and they said that not a single tooth fell out. And of course, some people may say, what's the significance of this? The significance of this is that what some Sahaba used to say, like Abu Ayyub al-Ansari and others, radiallahu anhum, that when people used to be amazed at their strength and their longevity, some of them, and their youthfulness, even when they were old, they used to say, we used to protect Allah when we were young. We used to fear Allah when we were young. So Allah protected us when we are old. Meaning protect Allah, as the Prophet ﷺ said to Ibn Abbas, احفظ الله يحفظك. Meaning protect his religion, protect his orders, what he said do and what he said not to do, avoid. For that reason, Asmaa radiallahu anha, this was one of those cases when the people fear Allah when they're young. And of course she migrated when she was very young, in her early 20s. She was older than Aisha 10 years. In her 20s, she migrated, middle 20s maybe, or early 20s. And they supported, and I will give you one very nice hadith to show how much they used to endure and be patient and be happy with just being alive to help the Prophet ﷺ and his mission. Also, another interesting fact that you find in the books of history, and I advise everyone to benefit from books of history and books of, we call in Arabic tarajim, biographies, kutub al-siyar, because history, anyone who doesn't learn from Islam or doesn't have the time to learn from Islam can learn from history. And anyone who doesn't learn from Islam or from his life or from history, he indeed is a loser. Because history shows everything Allah says to be correct. And she was the last person of the muhajirin, women and men, to die. She was the last, آخر المهاجرين والمهاجرات موتا في سنة 73 الهجرية. That she was the last to die in the year 73 after Hijrah. And she was the last to die from the muhajirun. And of course, many of the things that were said by our respected brothers who preceded me in the weeks before, I don't want to repeat, even though I don't know exactly what they said, but I want to just say something short and precise and hopefully inshallah beneficial, because it is from the two most authentic books after the book of Allah, from the Sahih of Imam al-Bukhari, Muhammad bin Ismail, and the Sahih of Imam Muslim bin al-Hajjaj Abu al-Hussein, rahimahumallah. Asmaa radiallahu anha narrates, she said, تزوجني الزبير وما له في الأرض مال ولا مملوك. Zubair married me when he didn't have much wealth. He didn't have much wealth in terms of having slaves or servants or having much land. And that shows that even though she was from a very noble family. Nowadays, nobility, unfortunately, is defined differently. She did not mind marrying Az-Zubayr because he was a good man, radiallahu anhu. And when a good man comes, as the Prophet ﷺ said, and asks for your daughter in marriage or your sister, then we should agree to that if he matches two conditions very well known to most of you. They are the deen, that his religious understanding is correct, not that, as some people understand, he has a beard and he doesn't drink khamr and he prays. That is good, but he may be an innovator calling to innovation, for example. He may be from the Shia, he may be from the Khawarij, he may be from and so on. So it's very important for us to understand that deen in this hadith means to be on the sunnah. And the second condition is khuluq, which is very important, and that is the character. Very, very important. Those two, if they are present, then the Prophet ﷺ said, فَزَوِّجُوهُ. Then let him marry the person under your charge. If you don't do, the Prophet ﷺ said, تَكُنْ فِتْنَةٌ وَفَسَادٌ كَبِيرٌ. There will be fitna and big fasad, big corruption, like we see now. And I want to draw the attention of all the Muslims to this sentence. Zubayr married me and he didn't have much wealth. Because the important thing for her was that wealth comes and goes, but a good person is hard to find. You can't buy a good person. The same way as you can't buy a good friend. And for that reason, I advise everyone not to make it hard for our brothers and sisters to get married. Also, looking at the fact that we live in the West, meaning that many of our brothers and sisters don't have a lot of choice. So if they find someone they want to marry and they fit those characteristics for men and women, we should try and help them, because they are young, they may need help in many things. For that reason, that is a great, shows her character, that she was a strong person. And of course, she was the daughter of Abu Bakr radiallahu anha. قالت وما له في الأرض مال ولا مملوك ولا شيء غير ناضح وغير فرسه. He didn't have anything, she said, except two things: his horse, which he used to use for, like now we have a car for moving about, and he used to have nadih, which is the camel that they used to use for watering and bringing water. So when some people say he didn't used to have any wealth, it doesn't mean that he didn't have anything, meaning zero. He had something, but it wasn't enough for everything. فقالت رضي الله عنها فكنت أعلف فرسه. Just two words, but they contain a lot of hard work. She said, I used to look after his horse. You know, looking after, I don't know, some of you may have a cat or kitten or something, or a rabbit, or whatever your kids force you to buy. Because I'm same, I am still resisting. But it's a losing battle, and one day I may surrender. So looking after something small, that imagine a cat or something, is very demanding. And that's why it's one of the reasons why I am resisting. And it requires the person not to neglect, as the Prophet ﷺ said about the woman who entered the hellfire because of a cat. Because the Prophet ﷺ said she didn't let her or let the cat go and eat by itself and didn't feed the cat. So to look after a horse, you have to be a horse almost. Meaning you have to be strong, you have to be determined, you have to be... Because every day you have to look after it. You can't have a day off. Because the horse you can't say to the horse, I have a day off, I have a day off. No, it's a full-time job. It's overtime, not paid. So these two words, and this is how the Sahaba used to be. They didn't exaggerate things. They just used to say things how they are. I used to look after the horse, that's it. Oh, it was so hard. She didn't say that. You know, I was nearly dead. Maybe she was, because it's very hard. And we will see now how much she used to do in order to look after those things. وَأَسْتَقِ الْمَاءِ. Not only did she look after the horse, she used to use that camel. I mean, I've only seen a camel in the zoo, Ikhwan. I haven't been close to a camel, apart from the time when there is a gate between me and the camel. But imagine you are alone with a massive camel that carries water, a lot of water. And you're a woman, you take the camel and you take astaqil ma, go there, I bring the water, I feel it, I bring it back. That's in addition to the horse. So it's a lot of, I mean, some of our brothers, we shout about things now, mashallah, let's do things. We can't even do that. If we saw a horse, some of us would run away maybe. We would say, what is this monster? No. And if the horse did some movement, we would be dead maybe. Because we are unfortunately, and especially the new generation, we are brought up in a very artificial environment, nothing natural. A cow is only seen in a picture or when we drive by the motorway and so on. So this woman, radiallahu anha, her father was Abu Bakr. Also, I want to draw the attention of the fathers. You know, some fathers and mothers, they're very overprotective. They say, you can't humiliate my daughter like that. You know, she has to look after the camel and after the horse, and maybe you'll add some goats. That is not humiliation, because it's part of life. That's how the Sahaba used to live their lives. It's part of life, meaning in that environment and that time. As she said, وَأَخْرُزُ غَرْبَهُ. Al-gharb ad-dalw al-kabir. Gharb is very big, like a bucket they used to use for water. And I used to, she said, repair it and look after it. So it's not a small 20-liter, 10-liter bucket. It's a big bucket. And of course, nowadays, like I said, we as men, we sometimes, the biggest battle we have is for the remote control. Who gets it first? Or who gets the second one? And so on. And who gets to the sofa first? So this is hard life. And yet they continue doing what they do. وَأَعْجِنْ. I used to make dough, meaning for bread and things like that. And she said something that she could have omitted. وَلَمْ أَكُنْ أُحْسِنْ أَعْجِنْ. I didn't used to know how to make good dough. She could have omitted it, right? Like most of us. I used to make bread, mashallah. But we don't know which kind of bread. Maybe very bad. Like some brothers say, you should try my cooking. So she said, وَكَانَ يَخْبِزُ جَارَاتٌ لِي مِنَ الْأَنصَارِ وَكُنَّ نِسْوَةَ صِدْقٍ. And some of my neighbor women from the Ansar used to help me with the bread. And they were truthful women. Look, subhanAllah, these amazing sentences. Because she said, she doesn't have to mention any of this. But she wants to mention it. And we benefit from that because, first of all, we benefit, ikhwan, that a woman or a man don't have to be perfect in everything. That's what we expect. She has to be the most beautiful. No, she must be memorized Quran 20 times. She's teaching Quran. She's teaching Bukhari and Muslim. Some brothers have strange ideas of a wife. Same as sisters. He must be like this, as if Abu Bakr walking. And the brothers, Aisha, Asmaa walking. Asmaa, she's saying, I couldn't bake bread properly. Those women used to help. And she praised them. Because they deserve praise sometimes. Meaning, she praised them not with what wasn't true. She said they were truthful, meaning they used to respect the rights of neighborhood. And unfortunately, very often we are affected by the environment we live in, and we all try to live in our own house. We never want to sometimes meet our neighbors or share any food with them, let alone help them in anything. And that's not correct. We should try, even if they're not Muslims, we should try and be good to them. وَكُنْتُ أَنْقُلُ النَّوَى, not only the camel and the horse and the big bucket. وَكُنْتُ أَنْقُلُ النَّوَى من أرض الزبير التي أقطعه رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام على رأسي. I used to carry on my head from the land of Az-Zubair, which the Prophet gave him to use. And Az-Zubair radiallahu anhu used to use it to gain some benefit from it. I used to carry some of those seeds and crops on my head, she said. On my head. Now, not donkey, not horse, because the horse he needs. The camel is for the water. So she doesn't have any other way to carry except on her head. So now, of course, many of our fathers would become red with rage and say, my daughter carrying things on her head. What is this? Now, when you try to get married, some countries, they give you an A4 list of requirements. So when you read, you go gray in your face, as well as in your hair. We want house, mashallah, that's okay. Car, driver, not the husband. So, and they know that the person in front of them can't probably afford any of that, apart from the house, maybe. So and this is from her humbleness. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't look at any of that. On the contrary, the more they do and the more difficulty they have to obey Allah, the more they get rewarded. So compared to them, brothers and sisters, we don't really experience much difficulty. Because everything is easy. And sometimes, of course, we go to the gym because we don't move otherwise. We just move to the kitchen, from the kitchen to the car, back to the house, to the office. We're always not moving. For that reason, this is a woman doing all of this, not a man. And there are many examples like this. But this I chose because she's the daughter of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And he is not harassing the husband, because this is normal life. Because the wife is supposed to share life with her husband. That is the purpose of their marriage. And she indicated the distance. وهي أي الأرض مني أي من منزلها على ثلثي فرسخ. And that was the distance of 2/3 of a farsakh. That is 3.6 kilometers, which may be 2-something miles. 2-something miles. She walks with the thing on her head. We can walk 2 miles sometimes without anything on our head. We find it very difficult and tiring. That's why we need to try and do that, so that we are not becoming something abnormal. So we are active. We can do Hajj and Umrah. We're not in the intensive care in Hajj when we go. Like some brothers told me. When they said, the doctor told me, he went to volunteer to look after the Western Hujjaj, not any other Hujjaj. Because he said the Western ones, they drop like flies, they can't manage it. Because the Africans, they walk every day 10 kilometers, 20, for them it's like a walk in the park, no problem. The others the same. So West, they just sitting. When it's Hajj, they go. Even they want hotel next to the Masjid, because they don't want to walk. Just open the window, you see Sheikh Sudais, mashallah. Sheikh, salaam alaikum. That's how we've become. Now, so this woman who was a great woman, her father was great, her son became great, she's doing all of this. So it's not humiliation when people can't afford. That's the point I'm making. When you can, of course, we all try to make our lives easy. And we will inshallah soon finish this half left. فجئت يوما والنوى على رأسي فلقيت رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام ومعه نفر من الأنصار. Once I was walking like this, and I met the Messenger of Allah عليه الصلاة والسلام, and he had a group of Ansar with him. فدعاني ثم قال إخ ليحملني خلفه. He called me, because obviously she's the sister of his wife, and they know her anyway. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam called her and said, "Ich." The ulama said, "Ich" means the camel, the sound you make to make the camel kneel down. And Asmaa said, so that he would be able to carry me behind him on the camel. فاستحييت أن أسير مع الرجال. Something I want to pay attention to. I was shy to go with men. And she's carrying this, how many miles, Allah Alam. She's been carrying it for the past, I don't know how many days. She's tired, of course. That's why Imam Nawawi rahimahullah, he said Bab, because he's the one who did the chapter names in Sahih Muslim. He said something along the lines of chapter of helping a woman when إذا أعيت في الطريق, when she's tired, because she was tired, as anyone would be in that position. But she said, I was shy to go with men. وذكرت الزبير وغيرته. And I remembered Zubair, her husband, and his jealousy. So this also shows that the people must respect the feelings of the husband or the wife in the marriage. And very often we have issues in the marriage, and people call and ask, and they say this, and very often people don't care about each other's feelings, and that's not correct. So she said, وَكَانَ أَغْيَرَ النَّاسِ, and he was one of the most jealous of people. And that the same description was attributed to Umar radiallahu anhu as well. فعرف رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام أني قد استحييت فمضى. The Prophet ﷺ understood that I'm shy, so he went. He didn't say anything. This is very nice adab between men and women, that men as well as women must naturally have shyness. They shouldn't think that being shy is bad, because there are many ahadith that praise being shy. Like the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-haya shu'batun min al-iman. That being shy is part of iman, is one branch of iman. And he said also, alayhi salam, الحياء لا يأتي إلا بخير. That shyness doesn't bring anything but good. Never brings bad, subhanAllah. Because when you're shy, it stops you from, the ulama said, doing things that are blameworthy. Just that quality that you have. So the Prophet ﷺ continued. فجئت الزبير فقلت لقيني رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام وعلى رأس النواة ومعه نفر من الأنصار. She told him she came home and she found Zubair, her husband, at home, and she told him radiyallahu anhuma the story. And she said, I felt shy to go with them and I remembered your jealousy. This shows that the husband and wife must be honest with each other. Especially the wife in relation to her leaving the house. Because the husband, naturally, he has to leave the house and may spend most of the time outside the house, or at least half of the time. But she must leave the house with the permission of the husband, because her main work is within the house. And for that reason, she related the story to him so that maybe he wouldn't hear it from someone else. And that would not look nice. And that is very important to think in the marriage, to protect our marriages, because very often we want to do everything that breaks the marriage and then to keep it. It is not possible. And the reply of Az-Zubayr radiallahu anhu was, والله لحملك النوى كان أشد علي من ركوبك معه. By Allah, you carrying that on your head is worse for me than you going and riding with the Prophet ﷺ. قالت, and because of that, understandably, because he wants to be seen as a good husband, helping his wife, and also the fact that her father is Abu Bakr. You know, the two families must cooperate. When sometimes we get married, as if a war is happening. Two sides met, so it's a battle now. It's not correct. Both sides must cooperate. The side of the husband, the side of the wife. And they must try and eliminate differences that they have as much as possible. Because you cannot find that two people in the same family are the same. How about two different families? It's not possible to be the same in everything. And she said, radiallahu anha, she concluded this hadith by saying, حتى أرسل إلي أبو بكر بعد ذلك بخادم. Until Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, her father, sent her a servant or a slave, as some ulama said in the hadith, explaining it, female or male, because the word khadim in Arabic is used for both female and male. يكفيني سياسة الفرس, and most likely it's female, who would look after the horse for me. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he knows what goes on. It's his daughter. And he sent that as help for his daughter. Because before he couldn't do it. And that shows that when we as parents or as children, when we can't do something for our children or parents who are in need, Allah doesn't take us to account. And we are not sinful. And the parents shouldn't, or the children, shouldn't demand things that are not in the power of the parent or the child. And very often we have that situation, unfortunately. And she said, فَكَأَنَّمَا أَعْتَقَنِي, and as if he set me free. As if she used to be a slave herself, and Abu Bakr set her free by doing that. This is the only place in this hadith where you feel that she had a hard time. Until then, you don't feel any of that. It's like a normal story. But just one word أعتقني, as if he set me free, tells you the story. And of course, this is a great story, as I said, narrated by Imams al-Bukhari and Muslim. And this is a true story. And also there are other, as they call in Arabic, mawaqif, certain stances and situations where Asmaa radiallahu anha showed her great knowledge and understanding of the religion. One of them was when her son, of course her son is called Amirul Mu'mineen, because anyone who became Khalifa is called Amirul Mu'mineen. Just like we call Umar bin Abdul Aziz, the same as others who used to be Khulafa, especially good Khulafa. Her son, she had, like I said, from Zubair 3 sons, but Abdullah was the most outstanding, radiallahu anhu. He was an amazing person, they used to say. He was the one who was known to continuously fast non-stop for 7 to 8 days. Whether you agree with it or not, that's a different issue. They said that he used to pray when even there was war going on, when it erupted with Hajjaj bin Yusuf al-Thaqafi, and he was encircled for 7 months in Mecca. While the manjaniq is that thing, catapult, I think they call it, where they used to put fire or something and throw it to the enemy. They said while the manjaniq, those things were falling, he was in salah, not blinking. That's not possible for a human being to do. It's not a humanly possible thing. Why could he do it? Because Allah made him do it. Meaning, as some of the Sahaba used to say, إِنَّمَا تُقَاتِلُونَ بِأَعْمَالِكُمْ أي السابقة. Everything you did before, when it's difficulty, Allah will do that to you. Either you were good to Allah and to His deen, and He will make you strong in difficulty, or you were not, and He will make you weak in difficulty, because that is humanly not possible to do what He did. But that is what Allah does to the believers. Like the ulama who used to not fear the enemy, like Ibn Taymiyyah and the ulama from the Salaf before, when they used to not fear the enemy or some of the rulers that used to be zalim, and they were asked by the ruler to answer a certain question. It is not humanly possible without the support of Allah and help to do things they used to do. Because the human nature is to shake, to be afraid, to do things, to not speak properly. That is the body. But the soul takes over and makes everything, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes you calm. And that man, of course, the reason I'm mentioning him, because to show the tarbiyah of his mother. Because you know, the child, when he or she grows, I would like to request all the kids please to stop talking. I've been tolerating you for the past 40 minutes or so. It's time to stop now. When the child grows, as we all know, the person that he or she spends most of the time with is normally the mother. So it's important for us to choose a good wife. And if we chose a good wife, it's important for us, as Ibrahim said to his son Ismail when he chose a good wife, ثَبِّتْ عَتَبَةَ بَابِكَ. Strengthen your doorstep. Strengthen the woman and educate her and bring her good books and give her good tapes or good recordings of good sheikhs. Not every person, as you know, is a good sheikh. And that was present in that household, to the extent that Abdullah bin Zubair, when the person fighting him was Hajjaj bin Yusuf, who was actually zalim in that case because he was the Khalifa, Abdullah bin Zubair. You're not allowed to go against the Khalifa and make a problem. he said to him, and this is inshallah, I finish like this, with this story. He gave him three choices. Hajjaj gave Abdullah bin Zubayr three choices. Either he said, you go anywhere you like, you live being Khalifa, or you live under me and do what I say, or I fight you until I kill you. He went to his mother. Most of us would say it's old woman, 100 years, what she knows about fighting and Allah alam what and khilafah and all the rest. And look, subhanallah. That woman was like alima. You go, the men go like Aisha they used to go. So he went to her and she said, you must choose the third option. Because you are on the truth and he's upon falsehood. And you cannot give way to people of batil. So he didn't hesitate to accept him because he himself wanted to accept that. But he wanted to know the opinion of his mother. And of course, he radiallahu anhu fought until he was killed. And unfortunately, he was crucified. He was humiliated to the extent that he was thrown into the graveyard of the Jews. And of course, in addition to that, Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, he came to Asmaa radiallahu anha and he said, Ya Ummah, O mother. And she said to him, I'm not your mother. And he said, she said, I heard the Prophet ﷺ say, and this hadith is in Sahih Muslim, in Banu Thaqif, in the tribe of Thaqif from which Hajjaj bin Yusuf was, there will be an impostor, a liar, and mubir, which means muhlik, someone killing people and destroying, destroyer. And she said, I think that we know the impostor because there was a man from the tribe of Thaqif who pretended to be a prophet. She said, we know that one. The second is you, she said, the destroyer. And he said, I am destroyer of munafiqs. And she said, Wallahi, my son was not a munafiq. And she mentioned his qualities. And she mentioned things about him being a Sahabi. And of course, Hajjaj ibn Yusuf wasn't from the Sahaba. This I'm mentioning not to make you hate or love someone, which of course we must do within limits of Islam, said by Islam and the Sunnah, but to show the greatness of this woman. Because in this position, Ikhwan, this is not a discussion of someone who hates you down the road. Like you meet them and even that you don't like meeting them. This is a discussion with someone who some ulama said, if all dhulm people from all nations came, we would have conquered them and defeated them with just Hajjaj ibn Yusuf. And she doesn't care. Look how strong she is. And she tells him the truth. And the ulama, Imam al-Nawawi rahmatullah and others, they said what she said was true. This hadith the Prophet really said, and it was true what she said. And of course, after that, she didn't live long. And in some narrations, she prayed over her son herself. She washed him and she retrieved his body, and he was buried finally in the Muslims' graveyard. And in some narrations, she didn't do it herself, but other people did, and she died, as the Imams of history and seer, they said, either 20 days after him, Abdullah bin Zubayr, and some said 10 days, some said 100, and Imam Ibn Kathir rahimahullah chose that one, that she died 100 days, just over 3 months after her son's death, having lived 100 years. So this woman, radiallahu anha, was truly from those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised for them choosing to follow the truth and not to be afraid to do so. Even under difficult circumstances, the circumstance I described to you in the hadith, being in relative poverty and difficulty and hardship, that none of that prevented them from doing what Allah said. And even later when the Khawarij appeared, because Khawarij are not called just because they get a badge called Khawarij. You Khawarij? Yes, mashallah, there's a badge. No one says I'm Khawarij. Even Khawarij, they don't say I'm Khawarij. The man who killed Ali, Imran bin Hittan al-Khariji, who used to be good until he married a woman from the Khawarij, and he said, I will correct her. Like many brothers say, you know, that lady doesn't pray, but inshallah when she marries me, she will pray. What happened was Imran bin Hittan was a man of knowledge, ikhwan, not a student of knowledge. He was a man of knowledge and he was a poet. She changed him. She made him from the Khawarij, and he is the one who praised the man who killed Ali bin Abi Talib. He said, this man, mashallah, is from the best of people and he wanted to please Allah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa by killing Ali. Look what things. So these people, they don't consider themselves upon bid'ah. They consider Ali to be on bid'ah. They consider many of them, one of the shi'ar, one of the signs was that Ali is a kafir. I mean, this is shocking. That is why when batil happens, the ulama know. When fitna happens, the ulama know. When it lasts and then it turns its back, as they say, عندما يدبر, everyone knows then. For that reason, this lady, great woman, rahimahullah wa radiya anha, she knew the batil. And some of us may say, how can a woman say to her son, you know, fight until you're killed? But she said, if you accept those other conditions, they will differ the sunnah. They will differ the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ. Because he described these people. He described Hajjaj even, alayhi salatu wassalam. And of course later on, he ruled for a while, for quite a while. But in any case, he was the lawful Khalifa, Abdullah bin Zubayr radiallahu anhu. And he didn't rule long, for about 9 years as far as I remember. But in any case, these are the lessons we should try and get. It's not just a nice story and we say mashallah and we go home, we do nothing. We should learn from these people because these are special people. They were chosen by Allah. The Sahaba were chosen by Allah to accompany and help the Prophet ﷺ. These women were chosen to be their wives and their daughters and so on, and their mothers. These are the people who taught everything, and they carried on their shoulders the burden of delivering the message of the Prophet ﷺ. For that reason, when we learn these people's biographies, we must analyze almost every word, because what they say is like gems. What they say is little, but it's precious. Not like some of us, I start with myself, we talk a lot and it's not important. That's the difference even between books. You look at the books of the Salaf, some of them very thin, and your books now, at some books now, authored now, especially now at time, you read 20 pages, don't know what it's about. You have to go back again. I was telling my wife the other day, I wanted to read a book and I started reading. After 150 pages, still the introduction. I said, La hawla wa la quwwata. I said, 150 pages, I thought I would be finishing now.
Is introduction. Then the page goes, and now with the book. I said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. 150 pages introduction. What can you introduce in that time? So this shows the difference. I mean, some of the books of the Salaf, they're not even 50 pages. Like Kitab Usul al-Iman by Abu Ubaid al-Qasim bin Salam rahimahullah. It's about Iman, just very thin. And so on and so forth. So these people are special people. May Allah enable us to understand them and their way and follow them correctly.